Hello, my name is Phil Mullen. Thank you for joining us. You are listening to In the Half-Lives, a podcast by Skeen Press in association with the Museum of Literature Ireland. In this episode, Angela speaks openly about her childhood in an institution. In recalling the ordinary routines of the home and the mix of care and racialisation, we see how this shaped the way she learned to move through the world. She later left Ireland for England, built a family there, and found herself drawn to the local Irish community. But even in that space, her sense of belonging was not easily assured, as her Irishness was something she felt deeply, but again not always recognised by others. What comes across in this episode is her passionate account of a sense of being Irish, but also the sense of being a woman who was forced to deal with the troubling question of how to claim their country as their own, even when their early years in its care left marks that never fully disappear. Where were you born?
Born in London, Stepney. I only know that from my birth cert. But I think at the time, it's sort of a mad background to the family, because it's like my grandmother. There was 10 of them altogether, I think 5 boys and 5 girls. And I don't really know, but she seemed to have taken 2 or 3 of the girls over to England, which people did in those days, like to work probably, and leave all the others behind. It was just a strange setup. The grandfather was in the British Army, and it would have been around the wartime, so I don't know. But I was born in London. Mina was born in Birmingham 3 months later, you know.
So what would you say are your earliest memories?
Well, being in school. I know I was one of the nuns' pets a bit, so, and she was in charge of the babies and the kitchen and stuff. So I would have felt close to her in that way. Yeah. I'd been with her quite a bit.
Do you have any idea of what happened between being born in Stepney and being in the institution? Do you know how or why that happened?
I know because of the redress board and stuff like that. And we were courted in. Is that the word you
put in by the court?
Yeah.
So is there anything from your kind of early childhood that stands out for you as a memory?
The worst thing that I think was when I was in Bagot Street, secondary school, and walking up through the sort of little cottages and stuff like that, and you might get a couple of little kids, look, a blackie. You know, that is the worst, honestly, that I ever remember as far as race is concerned. Like, as I say, I was never really told anything about where I was from, who was from. And I mean, I asked my mother there a couple of years ago, and she said, don't ask me. It was a one-night stand.
How does that feel?
Typical of her, not of you know, that just, it didn't surprise me. It didn't, and I don't think it was a one-night stand, you know what I mean? But I've never been particularly interested in my father or whatever, not because he was black or white or whatever, just I was quite happy in myself, you know, if that makes sense. I don't feel I need to know, like, I know who I am.
How did, say, the other kids or adults around you, how did they react to you?
Where, in school?
In the institution, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I never really had any, I think I had one fight, like, you know, which is unusual. There was 100 kids there, do you know what I mean? So and that wasn't even like a really violent fight. It was just, as I said, well, you sort of wouldn't, you know, understand that I didn't really hit off anybody or, and if I wasn't part of that gang, that was okay. I had enough people, you know, and I'd be the same now, do you know, that I sort of don't chase people to be with me.
Can you tell me a little bit about what everyday life was like growing up?
To me, the way I explain it now, I am quite happy I was there, fellow, as opposed to be in Drimna with 10 uncles and aunts. And, you know, I really count my blessings because none of them were into any education. Like, you know, our sister Ligori was mad into education to the point that she almost assessed us all individually in her own mind and sent us to secondary schools or techs or whatever that suited who we were. And to me, that, you know, looking back on it, it means a lot to me that she cared enough. You know, it would just be as easy to say, you all go to Bagot Street, you all go to Haddington Road. Do you know what I mean? And I'm forever grateful, and I've still instilled it in my own kids. Education is the way out of anything, you know. If you have some way decent education, you can do things. I might, like, there was things that I didn't like, lots of things, and nobody can make up for the lack of love, you know, and family life. Like, people are amazed. Well, my kids are amazed that, like, I was able to bring them up relatively normal when I never had that myself. Like, I was 9 months when I went into the industrial school, you know. I'd say that would be what I missed, but at the time I didn't know I was missing it, if you know what I mean. It's only afterwards the lack of love, really. And day to day, as I say, I wouldn't have been aware of it, because I got, like, enough attention, as I said, and I really, really appreciated Ligori taking the time to assess us, our mental needs. It's the physical needs, isn't it? That was, you know, and I never was overly punished for anything because I was a bit of a goody-goody, do you know?
Which may feed into why you never got into any trouble or any fights.
Yeah, like, I got the. Did
you ever get the wooden spoon?
Yeah, that's what I was trying. Was it the wooden spoon or the pointer?
Well, I got the wooden spoon.
Oh, did you? I think we used, you know, the pointer thing. I think we got that. I think I got that 2 or 3 times. It wouldn't have been too much. I think I got away with it a lot as well. You know, a smile goes a long way, doesn't it?
Your generation were different to mine because you were actually educated inside the institution.
Up to 14.
Up to 14.
Yeah. And what was, we had, the first teacher we had was Miss Connolly, and she was lovely. She was local. That was from, say, 4 to thing. Then we had this Miss Cullen. Anyway, her sons used to come in. She had twin sons, and she was quite involved in it. But she was stricter than Miss Connolly. And then for the last, when we did our, what's the primary school exam?
I didn't know there was a primary school.
Oh, there was. Yeah, we had to do one.
Like the equivalent of an 11 plus in England?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, exactly. There's a word for it, primary school. Your primary was. Ligori had us for that. And that was, I mean, she was a fabulous teacher. And I don't think we all really realised what we had. She actually went to Holland to learn the Montessori education, which was sort of unheard of, especially for an industrial school, and brought back all the equipment. And when I opened my Montessori nursery, she gave me all that equipment. She still had it. As I say, you never make up for the love and the family life, that thing. And the stuff you saw, you know, like, wasn't nice, you know. Mm. And like, even the older kids bullying the younger ones. As I say, I was lucky. I kept a low profile. Because
we would have had connection with Golden Bridge. Like, it was another Sister of Mercy.
It was a Sister of Mercy, but to us anyway, it was a threat that, like, if you didn't behave yourself, you were going to Golden Bridge. There was horror stories that came from there, you know, like, even then. Putting us on a boat to go to England at 16 years of age with 20 quid in our pocket wasn't probably the most, or the wisest thing to do. Yeah, and I mean, after secondary school, she sent me to comptometer, which is the equivalent now of an electronic calculator, to do a course on that. So I did that between September and December, and then I went to England in January.
I know you didn't really have much connection, and you've already mentioned it a little bit already about not having kind of any interest in finding out who your father was. But was anything ever said to you about who your mother was or where you came from or how you came to be in this institution?
Yeah. No. Like they came up in bits and pieces for the first few years. Now,
when you say they came up in bits and pieces, you mean they came to visit?
Yeah. And they're saying they came up more than they actually did, because like you'd remember, wouldn't you? And I remember the times they came up, and in all the time I was there, I'd say 4 times, you know. And I remember my mother coming up, because she got married not long after, and I was sick in the infirmary, and I remember coming up there, and probably because I was up there, I remember coming up more, you know. And then I remember she came up once and with an aunt of hers, and took me down to Boothstown Strand. I remember sitting on the bridge, on the stairs, you know, going the bridge, you know, chatting away. And she went in. Now, I would have only been 6 or 7 then. They all say, they were advised not to come and see us after 7, once we reached 7, and because we'd be asking questions. That's what they say. I don't know, but it never really came after that. And
including your mother.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was it. There was never any visits after that. And it was the uncles, especially there's an Uncle Paddy. They're all passed away. She's the last one, but him and John, they seemed to have had more of not an interest, but like more of a responsibility. But even now, like we're in touch with all the uncles. Well, they're all gone now, but the cousins and stuff like that. And on special occasion, like if there's a party, that we might get invited, and we, you know. But I think I've been there's, as I say, there was 10 of them, so you can imagine how many cousins we have. I think I've been at one wedding and a couple of parties.
And as a child, were you able to make sense of why the visit stopped? Were you conscious of them stopping?
No, I don't ever remember, as I say, giving them too much headroom, Philo. You know, I think, and even now, like my life has always been busy, and hopefully fulfilling. That it never bothered me, you know. And even now, the only reason I'm sort of going up to see the mother and stuff like that is because I don't want, when she goes, that I think, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. I think if I do a little, and she asked me, I think, did I tell you, she asked me a few weeks ago, would I come up a bit more often? Because I was going up once a week, as I say, to salve my conscience. And she fell. And I think it knocked the wind out of her. Now, she didn't hurt herself or anything. So she asked me, would I go up a bit more? Because she's not getting out at all. Her mind is as sharp as a razor. She's like sitting there doing word search, you know. But anyway, I still don't feel particularly, but we're getting on much better. So that's a plus.
A good thing.
Yeah, it's a plus.
That's nice. I suppose you talked about the fact that you actually went to England.
We went over to St. Clair's. There was like a group there, and it was almost like being in school. You know, I'd say there was about 6 or 8 of us. And me and Mina went over and moved into their flat, and then we got a bigger flat, you know, and stuff like that. The freedom was probably the biggest thing. The fact that nobody told you could or couldn't do anything, you know. I remember we got off the train in New Street Station. We got the boat over. The girl brought us down to the boat, threw us on it, and then you got a train from Holyhead down. And we got off in New Street Station and came out, and like these sort of the Indian fellas with the turbans on the head. And I remember being fat, because I had never seen one in real life, a person with a turban on, you know. And I remember just being fascinated. Like, yeah, it was so multiracial. It was unbelievable. But it was also the hippie time. And yeah, we sort of got caught up, not real hippie sort of, you know, whatever. but enough. And then, sure, I had the first child at 18 and the third at 20. So, that's how busy I was after.
But does that, Angie, do you think in terms of the lack of parental control and maybe being allowed or just sent off on your own?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's the freedom, which it's not really freedom because, you've got no experience of looking after yourself. You've got, you wouldn't even know what rent was. You wouldn't know you were given no out in the world advice even. Not even just training, but advice. And I was mad. And one or two of us at work at the one time, and we were too young to get dole in those days. You couldn't get dole till you were 18. So you, 2 ages were keeping the 6 of us, and there wouldn't be much in those. I remember working for Littlewoods, the thing, and then some mail order catalogue in the office there, and we're going for one job, and they said I was too educated. And I've been so upset about it. Honestly, they said I was too educated that I wouldn't probably last. That would be their reasoning. But at the time, I just felt like
rejection.
Rejection, yeah. You're talking 1969, 70. But as I say, it was more like that freedom era, hippie era. Where you just were yourself, which was probably good because there was more welcoming. And there was a place called Moseley, and sort of everybody lived there, and everybody sort of just were quite chilled out, and you'd have probably things you shouldn't have, and stuff like that at the time. And then I met the father of my kids and had them, and that didn't, by the time I was pregnant with Emma, that wasn't working out. So I went to live in a place, and there was an Irish woman next door, and the big thing over there is Catholic schools. Not so much now, but certainly then. If most kids that were in the Catholic schools, their parents were Irish, and mine went to Catholic school. So I met quite a few Irish then, and the woman next door, and actually her child was in a state school, but when she met me and sort of whatever, she took her out and put her into the same school mine was in. And so I started mixing thing, and then when they were old enough, well, Emma started Irish dancing and Justin, and then really the rest of the time of my time in England was totally the Irish community, but very little mixed race, Philo. Very. I can't even remember in the Irish dancing community. I think
so. You would have been quite unique or unusual looking, or were you accepted in that community?
Oh yeah. I'm still mad friends with them now, but I'm sure you get, maybe not so much you because of your hair, but you see, my hair was straight. I know, the usual, but I don't count you as black, And I used to say, but I hate to tell you, but I am, I get it now. There was a woman the other day, yeah, but people don't see you as black. So this is an excuse for them making racist remarks about other people, not, and of course with them when I get annoyed or cross, say, yeah, but people don't count you. They say that because, and they're making excuses for them. And I say, I hate to tell you, but I am. And we went down to the Go-Go, every Sunday afternoon, when we sneaked down, And I'd say there might have been one other mixed race, apart from Phil Lynott, of course.
Where was the Go-Go?
At Lower Abbey Street, where...
And you'd sneak out of Bruce's?
Well, we were allowed out.
Oh, you were allowed out?
We were allowed out on a Sunday afternoon, supposedly to go in. I don't know where they thought we were going, actually. Yeah, we used to go down there, and it was Motown. I still love Motown up to Stevie Bulger was the DJ in there. You woun't have gone down. It was still open though, I think.
I was too young.
I know, in those days, but you weren't afterwards.
I think it was gone by then.
Was it? It was fabulous.
So how do you think the country has changed in terms of its acceptance or...
It has and it hasn't, do you know? Well, it has got better in some ways and worse in other ways, you know? And I hate all this hate that's going on at the moment, you know? And, it's fueled by ignorance, by falsehoods, you know? And I don't know, Phil, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm sort of glad I'm at the age I am, you know, that I'm not going to be around to see if it's going to be worse. I don't know. I think that the ignorance and the hatred, well, it's fueled. It's like it's the same in England. You know what I mean? It's the same in America, isn't it? People. What's the word? Take advantage of ignorance. It's like Brexit, wasn't it? You know, they fed them all this information, and look at the state of the country now.
So, how do you think the Ireland you grew up in shaped who you are?
It's hard to say, Philip, because...
Or do you think the institution
The institution, yeah. Because, like, the only time I would be out in the community up to the time of 14 or whatever would be being sent out on holidays. And, you know, that was always a mixed bag. You know, at one point I was going to the same family for a few years, and then I got to the point where I was out, like, you went out looking after kids and stuff like that. I think that was probably wrong. It was very wrong. You know, like sending 14-year-olds or 13-year-olds out to look after kids and not getting even paid for them being treated sometimes like... I mean, I remember once, sort of one family, me and the maid had to eat our food in the kitchen and stuff like that, you know. And I remember that, you know. Yeah.
And you were never fostered, or what were your chances of adoption?
Well, that's why I always think, why did they not, and I might ask her yet, why did they not put us up for adoption? Because we'd have been snapped up, you know, like by somebody do-gooders, so to speak, you know what I mean? Wanting somebody or something different, or thinking they would, you know, like, which they would be. And we didn't even have visitors, you know, like on the Sunday afternoon. That's, I think, used to make me sad. You know,
were you ever brought out to be looked at when visitors did come?
Yeah. And I think Gorge's excuse was like, so because you haven't got any visitors, you're on
You're on display.
Just probably like that, like a PR exercise, you know. Look what we're doing.
You and Mina did South Pacific, is that right?
Yeah, and again, it's really funny because one of the teachers, Miss Ferguson, she was part of the Minds and Rackar Musical Society. They were doing South Pacific and they were looking for not necessarily mixed race kids, but two kids. So me and Mina hadn't got... Mind you, we had Mrs. O'D, the drama teacher, and she was famous Kathleen Sullivan. She's a famous actress. She was in the Irish RM, you know, and stuff like that. And she came down and taught us drama. And she actually took me out on holidays a couple of times.
So is there anything you've always wanted people to understand about your experience?
As I said, the thing that wasn't the same for everybody, and certainly, you know, I would have witnessed not nice things and the lack of, as I say, love and family home, because no matter how good the nuns or stuff were like that, they can't give you the love, obviously. There was 100 kids there, do you know what I mean? And it wasn't the sort of place, they're not the sort of places where you didn't get love as such, did you? I don't think, you know, family love anyway, or next, even foster family love. That to me would be the negatives of it. The positives is, as I say, the love of education and the appreciation of education. Not that I was highly educated, but I knew that. And the fact that I opened a nursery as a single parent, then went over to Cyprus and opened a pub. I know, you know, that doesn't take intelligence, but it takes confidence a bit, doesn't it? You know, and I must have got it somewhere, you know. I don't think it was the school. I think it's your nature as well, taking advantage. But yeah, I have to say, on the whole, I don't think I had a bad life. It wasn't ideal, and I would have rather have had a nice mum and dad. Do you know what I mean? That and as I say, there was atrocities that did go on, and I'm well aware that I'm not foaming painting this rose-coloured picture, of it. And you could have 10 people in here that'll tell different,
So we'll end it there. Thanks a million, Andrew.
Thinking Aloud, Thinking Together is a new conversation series from Skeen in partnership with the Museum of Literature Ireland, amplifying voices that have been silenced in Irish cultural life. It brings together artists, writers and thinkers whose work offers a radical new perspective on existing narratives. Thinking Aloud, Thinking Together provides a space to discuss points of connection and concern in contemporary culture. These conversations explore topics that are seldom spoken of in mainstream public discourse in Ireland, such as identity, relationships, shame, exclusion, and reversing the impact of erasure from history and culture. It offers a space for us to reconsider our relationship with one another, to reimagine the ways in which we live, and to rewrite the legacies we leave behind. Supported by the Rowan Trust and the Arts Council of Ireland. Produced by Ian Mullaney. Music by Oisín Walsh Pilo. For more information, visit skeenpress.com.